Hey guys, it's Tim. If you are a high ticket sales rep, it's very important that you understand the psychology of what makes people buy something versus just you going through the motions of selling the thing. I'm talking about if you want to make more money. This is what took me from being a closer who was stuck at 3K a month to being a closer who was doing 15K plus per month consistently, my highest month being 18K in commissions, February 2024. And now our sales reps, the people I train, do the same thing. They're making more than I ever made, 25K, 30K months. Consistently, our top reps are performing and doing this, collecting millions of dollars in cash year over year for businesses and making a whole bunch of money. And it's because there's a difference in consciousness when you understand the psychology of how to sell and you understand how to trigger people to buy versus just going through the motions of selling the thing and being a closer. Okay, so this video is interesting. This video is kind of a crossroads, right? Like, what kind of sales rep do you want to be? Do you want to be a high ticket sales rep who understands the in-depth nuance of the psychology and can execute on that at a high level? Or do you want to be the sales rep who goes through the motion, shows up, does his job, and sticks within that 5K, 6K per month commissions range, if you're even at that? Because depending on who you want to be, and how you treat the game, whether you understand the psychology, whether you understand the elements that make someone buy, and you know how to trigger that, that's going to lead to you making more money. And not just making more money because like you know the psychology, but making more money because you get better opportunities because business owners and hiring managers respect you for your understanding of the game. And this is how we train our people. My guys that I'm training understand the game at the highest level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 triggers following a formula called PUG. Okay, I think you'll like this, the PUG sales framework, P-U-G. And I go into this with my guys. We train on this all the time. You can see actually on the whiteboard there, we just ran a session and we broke this down. And I'm going to break down this framework to you in extreme detail here. We're going to go very deep on this one. And it's a 3-part framework and how you can consistently trigger people to buy on your call with very, very little effort. Very little effort doesn't mean you don't have to do a lot of work to get to this point where you are good, because you got to get good. And that's hard. That takes effort, right? But on the call shouldn't feel like pulling teeth. The call shouldn't feel difficult. And that's what we're going to do here, okay? There's 3 things we need. We need problems, we need urgency, and we need gap. And understanding these 3 pieces of psychology is what helped me, again, make a bunch of money in sales and help me actually give that sales system to business owners, high-ticket business owners that I consult for, to my sales reps that I train, and I place those systems into my own business and helps us close a lot of people and serve a bunch of clients. Okay? Problem, urgency, and gap. We're going to go in-depth in the psychology. So let's start with problem. Before I get into like what to say and all the script, and I'm going to give you scripting here. We're going to go into like actual scripting. It's going to be very helpful. Before I get into all that, I want you to understand that people make buying decisions because they have a problem that needs to be solved. There's a gap, something that's missing in their state, in their current state, where they're at now. Something is missing, and they're hoping that your company, this is in the high ticket space specifically, they're hoping that your company has a solution to provide to them a bridge to get from where they are now to where they want to be ultimately. That's what you're doing in high ticket sales. That's essentially what you're doing. You're providing solutions to people who have problems, and the company is charging a high ticket price, $2,000, excuse me, not $2,000, $5,000, $15,000, $20,000, right, to solve that problem. Okay? Buying psychology, when we reference the word buying psychology, this is what it means. Having a conversation with someone where the themes, where the topics of discussion, where the pathways of the conversation lead to the person that you're communicating with being in the best position to make a buying decision. Okay, when I say buying psychology, that's what I'm referring to. So we understand we get our terms right. Buying psychology means where the themes of the conversation are psychologically priming the individual that you're talking to want to buy. Okay, that's what buying psychology is, and that's how I define it. And that's what we mean when we say having a sales-driven conversation. What we don't want to do, and this was my mistake when I first got into remote sales, because I had been a dating coach for so long, I thought, hey, just because I can talk to people well and I know how to have good conversations, that means that I'm going to be able to close. I was very, very, very wrong, right? That wasn't the thing that was needed. Instead, what was needed was for me to have conversations that drove people to buy. Now, in a buying conversation, what we need to do is have triggers, like I've already mentioned, triggers that come up that put the person who you're communicating with in a headspace of, oh, I might actually want to make a decision here, and making a decision to do this and to invest in this is better than not making a decision. Does that make sense? So on my calls and my sales calls, the conversation I want to have is where we're bringing up ideas, topics, themes, points, providing context that's in line with them making a decision here on the call versus putting that decision off till later and doing it at a different time. All right, because if I get my prospects to make a decision now, when there's peak interest, when they're very interested, there's a higher chance that they're going to buy right now. They're making a decision, right? Yes, I want to make change. I want to lose the weight. I want to get better at sales. I want to start my fitness coaching business. I want to build my ecomm store. I want to become a better trader. I want to get leads for my marketing agency, right? I want to have better designs for my company, whatever it is. All right. What I want to do is establish a buying conversation as quickly as possible and have them attached to that conversation within a 45-minute window, because the faster I can do that, it doesn't mean it needs to be in 5 minutes, but if I can do that within one call close, right, maybe two if I have to, it's going to increase the chance that they ultimately buy if I have that conversation versus delaying that further and further and further down the line to where their buying temperature decreases. Okay, so let's go into PUG formula, problem, urgency, and gap. The first thing we have is problem. The first trigger that needs to be established is the problem trigger. What is it that our company can solve? That's the first one. And it's important that each of these three things, problem, urgency, and gap, we'll start with problem, there's a dialogue around these three things. That you're not just talking about these with the prospect as some kind of concept, this idea of, oh, it's nice to talk about this, oh, it's a good conversation, but we actually want to have a dialogue about these themes. What can our company solve? Why make change now, which is urgency, and gap, which is them now versus them in the future. So we start with problem. Generally, we do these in order. Generally, what can our company solve? Okay, so we have something called the problem checklist. The first thing we need to do is identify in this problem checklist, so this is how we know we have a clear problem, where they want to be versus where they are now. Okay, identifying that there's a clear difference between where they are now and where they want to be. We can start off by asking a very simple question. Simple question, like in terms of like, let's say we're doing like sales. Okay, like our offer, our program's name is Protocols, as evidenced by the hat. Yeah, I'm super proud of this. All right, we got our Protocols hats now. In terms of sales, let's say when it comes to sales, high ticket, where do you want to be? What's the goal for you? There we go. That's what we call where they want to be versus where they are now. Right, we're identifying the first thing. Now, this first question is not necessarily finding the exact nature of the problem, but the question in itself opens up a discussion around where they want to be versus where they are. Not in terms of life, not saying like, oh, I want to have my dream home, not that, but just in terms of what we sell. So if it was fitness, you would say, just curious, when it comes to fitness, like where do you want to be? What's kind of the goal for you? Right? Oh, I want to lose 25 pounds. There we go. We've now identified there's a problem because they want to lose the 25 pounds and they haven't lost it yet. There we go. We're now in a problem conversation. Does that make sense? What can our company solve? So our company can solve them not having lost the 25 pounds. Or our company, my company, can solve you, as an example, not being at $15K per month in commissions. Right? What can our company solve versus where they want to be versus where they are now? We identify that. Number two, what actions are being done to achieve XYZ. So let's say that they're like, I want to lose 25 pounds. Let's go to fitness. They're like, I really want to lose 25 pounds. It's just a thing I've really wanted for the last 6 months. It's kind of my goal. Okay, gotcha. And what are you doing to try to lose the weight? Why is this so important? I wonder if you can get this. If you know sales, you should know this. And if you get this answer wrong, it means your sales IQ is not where it needs to be. Why is it that I want to ask them what they're doing to try to achieve the goal? Pause it. See if you know what the answer is. We'll make it interactive. Dun, 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 you know, whatever the Jeopardy music they play. The reason why I want to know this is because I want what our company does to be an exact solution and a perfect like anti-fit to what they're trying to do. So whatever they're trying to do to achieve XYZ result, what our company does is going to be better than that. Does it make sense? Right? So let's say fitness, and they're like, well, I've tried some dieting and I follow these online workouts. Okay, gotcha. And how's that been going? Because I assume you haven't lost the weight yet. So where are you at now? What's kind of holding you back? Right. So whenever I pitch, which means provide a solution when you pitch, right? When I pitch, I want my pitch to be a perfect solution to whatever it is that they're trying now that isn't working. So the reason I want to know what they're doing now isn't because I just want to know. And a lot of sales reps, here's where the problem is. A lot of sales reps will be like, well, so what are you doing to achieve this end goal. And the person's like, oh, I'm trying to do some of this and some of that. Like, how's that going for you? Oh, it's going okay. Nice. And what have you tried in the past? And you just end up in this open-ended conversation about things that they've tried, right? But I'm not doing this innocently. I'm specifically trying to figure out what they have tried or what they're trying now. I want to do what they're trying now, not what they've tried much in the past. I want to know what they're trying now to escape from their current state and to try to get into this new state. And why is it not working? Because whatever's not working for them, we're going to come in and we're going to do way better, right? That's the game. That's high-ticket psychology, right? And here's a little formula you can use. This will help you. So if they're taking more action, let's say the prospect is doing more, right? They're doing more of the thing, whatever the thing is. They're doing more. So let's say fitness, and they're going to the gym and they're dieting. The more action they're doing, the more you're going to have a data-driven problem. So the more questions I'm going to ask in my problem trigger phase, like in figuring out problems, the more questions I'm going to ask around what they're doing and what's going on. Okay, so the more things they're doing, the more the problem is going to be based on data. Does that make sense? So let's say we're doing ecomm. And you were like, okay, you're trying to build an ecomm brand. Like, how much do you want to be making with ecomm at the end of the day? They say $10K per month. Gotcha. And like, have you been doing it for some time, or you just started last weekend? No, I've been running my store for 4 months now. Oh, how much profit are you at? We're at 1K. Sometimes we barely break even. Okay, that's not good. Well, what are you doing in terms of ads, in terms of marketing? Break it down to me. What's going on? What products are you selling? Right. So I can ask all this now. Why? Because he's been doing it for 4 months. Because he's been doing it for 4 months, there's going to be more data. So the problem is going to be based off the data, which means my problem is going to be deeper. Yay, that's what we want, right? Whereas the other side, if there's less action, we're going to have more of an emotion-driven problem, more of just a blank frustration with the current state they're at in life, depending on the offer you're running. All right, but let's say, again, we'll go ecomm. We're like, okay, so you've been doing this since last weekend, or you started like for 4 months? Well, I knew about ecomm 3 months ago, but I never pulled the trigger on it until actually this weekend I opened up my first store. Oh, I gotcha. Why didn't you start before then? So now my questions are going to all be getting answers that are more emotional. Not emotional like I'm crying and sobbing. That's not what I mean when I say emotional. Emotional is just I didn't start because either I didn't have confidence in myself, I was lacking information, right? Or I wasn't knowledgeable enough, whatever it would be. It's going to be more of an emotion, more of a lack-based problem. Whereas if they're doing a lot, it's going to be I'm doing things and the things aren't going right, right? And here's why they're not going right. And that's what's holding me back. How can you guys solve this? If they're doing nothing, it's because I don't find it within myself to do the thing. On my dating offer that I was running, I would deal with this a lot. I'd get prospects who were like, what are you doing in terms of dating, connecting with women? Not my offer, by the way, the one I was closing on. This is after I was a dating coach. I ended up closing for a appointment setting biz op, and then I was on a dating coaching offer purely as a closer. And I would ask them, what are you doing? Some guys would say, well, I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't gone on any dates or approached any women since my divorce, which was 4 months ago. Gotcha. Makes sense. Why have you not done anything? Like, what's been holding you back from actually putting yourself out there? It was always fear, fear and anxiety. It's hard to know what to say, and I always second guess myself. Gotcha. How's that been feeling? You see a girl in Starbucks, you want to say what's up, and you don't. How does that feel? It sucks, right? That's the problem we're solving, not being able to do the thing. Whereas if the prospect is doing something, if they're like, yeah, I talk to maybe 3-4 girls a week. I go on one date every 2 weeks, but it's not really who I want to be seeing. Oh, I got you. What's usually like happening when you talk to women and you talk to high quality, attractive women that you're into? What usually happens? Now I can ask questions that are more data driven, because the problem we're going to get by nature of them doing something and having more data is going to be a data driven problem. Right? So this is the sales conversation we're having to start. Problem. Second level is urgency. Okay, so we start with problems. What is it that our company can solve? And I want to be clear. Hear me out and remember this. We're not asking the innocent question of like, tell me what's been going on. We're asking what problem can our company specifically solve? That's important, right? It's not just a general exploration of what is going on. We're asking, what's the problem that our company specifically can solve for you? Because that's what we can sell on. We can't sell on anything else. It has to be something that our company is going to handle. So it needs to be under the pitch that you guys are going to provide, under the services you guys are going to provide, and your pitch should bring this up and highlight this. Okay, second level is urgency. Urgency is the question of why make change now. And urgency is such a funny one in sales because a lot of reps, I think, do this in such a fucking corny way, and it's so stupid the way they do it. Just like, but really, why now though? But why now? It's okay. It's not bad when you ask it like that. And sometimes I will ask the question that way. Generally, the way I script my why now question, and I found that this just lands a little bit better. It's a little more gently. The way you say it is important. So I'll be like, yeah, it's totally, I'm pretend I just finished another question and we just finished a conversation. So I'll naturally go into it. Yeah, that's really good. And I'm happy you kind of see that there are changes to be made. I guess for you, why do this now? Like, what was the trigger to make this so important to you now and to kind of step up and take charge of your health, take charge of your fitness now, as opposed to putting it down the line till later the way, I don't know, other people might do? Like, why take action on it now? All right. So what I'm doing is I'm not committing unnecessary energy to the question itself. I'm not adding an extra energy to it. I'm flowing with this question. I'm asking in a very, very natural way. And I'm almost sneaking it in there, asking it like, I'm actually just curious. The tone here is very important, right? Shout out Jeremy Myna for the tonality, right? The tone is super important here. I'm not asking it in a way that's like corny. And that's one thing you don't want to do. A lot of sales reps will do this. They'll ask questions with too much energy behind them where you can feel the sales rep is actually uncomfortable with the question and they're trying to just pull it off. So they'll ask the question from a place that's very inauthentic and feels very salesy. The way I ask it is just like I'm asking a friend. If I would ask a friend, well, do you want to go to the beach next Saturday, or like, when do you want to go? I ask my questions the same way in sales because it never triggers buying resistance. We don't want to trigger that at all. All right. So I'll ask my question again, how it sounds. So I guess for you then, why do this now versus put it off to later? Like, what makes fitness and health so important to you? What was the trigger behind it that made this a thing for you to look at today, now, and commit to making changes like here? Why? So just curious. That's how I ask it. Now, what we want to do, and I think you really like this, stick with me. If you love sales and you want to make money with sales, this is what's going to help you make change. So there's 3 categories that I want when it comes to a why now change or a why now urgency question. There's 3 categories, three boxes that can be checked. I want to check off minimum 1, ideally 2. 3, I don't need 3, but I want to check off 1, at least 1, maybe 2. Okay. There's time, there's moment, and there's who. Time, moment, and who. Time means, what is the cost of you not doing this right now? Like if let's say you did it tomorrow, what are you losing? Let's say that you did it next year, what are you losing? That's one version of the why now. Some people answer that. They'll say, well, I'm getting older, and there's no time to waste. Every single day there we go. That's a time. Another one is moment. It's what was the moment you realized this was important. We'll stick with health. My doctor told me I need to start taking care of myself. I had a conversation with him 2 months ago, and he looked at my blood work, and he said, I'm generally healthy, but my markers aren't great in terms of the pace that I'm on. So I need to recover some of that and get back in shape, get my health back. There we go. There's a moment. Conversation with doctor, or who, right? Doctor who. Conversation with the doctor is one moment, or there's who. Who is going to be like, who are you doing this for now? What makes this important now? Maybe they'll say, well, yeah, my daughter, she just moved in with us and she's back from college. She just moved in, and I want to be a better example to her. She's quite fit. And I'm not able to keep up. She goes and plays tennis. She always wants her dad to come with her, and I can't do it. I can't come with her. I can come, but I can't hold my own, and I can't move, and I really miss. There we go. There's the who. It's for his daughter. All right. So when I ask why make change now, I want a specific thing to attach it to. I don't just want it to be like oh, because. A lot of sales reps will settle for this. So why now? It's because why not? That's not enough. I need more than that. I want a specific moment, a specific vision behind why we're doing this now today. What's the reason to start and commit to this now? And by the way, you need to understand this. When I say why now, I'm not talking about doing our program. I am talking about that, wink, wink. But you as a sales rep shouldn't frame the question as why do our program now? We should frame it along the lines of why make changes, because we always want to stick with what we call the prospect's holy grail, which is who they want to be, the position they want to be in, which is always going to lead to freedom. All paths lead to freedom. Sometimes it's going to be freedom anchored on time. Sometimes it's going to be freedom anchored on money. But either way, it's going to be freedom. Right? So what I want to do is I want to ask this why now question attached to the holy grail. Like, why move towards freedom? Why move towards having more time in your life for yourself? Why move towards making more money? Why move towards having more freedom when it comes to your health and the way you feel about yourself? I always want to anchor onto that, because that source, right? That source of what I anchor onto is going to be the thing that drives them forward, going back to buying psychology, right? So we have problem triggers, we have urgency triggers. Why make change now as opposed to later? And the last trigger is gap, right? Gap triggers. So gap triggers would be who they are now versus who they're going to be in the future. One of those two things. It's like both of them need to be established, but who they are now versus who they're going to be in the future. Okay, so we have two kinds of gaps. We have desire gaps and we have consequence gaps. Desire gaps are going to be gaps that are like who they want to be and who they will be when we get this thing right. Does that make sense? That's a desire gap. So who they want to be and who they will be when they get this thing right. And by the way, I'm telling you right now, we're going to go into training on gaps. I'll give you the scripting, but it's so important you realize this. I've closed millions of dollars using this. Millions of dollars, and I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars using this. And our clients have closed millions of dollars using this. And our clients, our sales reps, have made hundreds of thousands of dollars per year doing this. And I'm giving it to you here. I'm not holding anything back. This is literally what we went over on the whiteboard right here a couple of days ago. This is the training. This is how it works. This is the game. I'm giving you everything. And I'll tell you something. If you want to get more of this, it's free. Got some really cool resource for you. Join the newsletter. It's down below. It's called the Protocols newsletter. And I'm going to give you away this sheet that I have here. I have a sheet in front of me called the PUG Sales Framework. I'm going to give you a screenshot of this so you can use it and implement it into your own sales process. Whether you're a business owner or you're a high-ticket closer, you can put this into your process and use it and make more money from it. I'm going to give it away, but it's only on my newsletter. I share things like this in the newsletter. Okay, so opt in, put your email, put your name. You know how it works. You know how a fucking newsletter works. It's free and it's the best value in the entire sales space, in the remote high-ticket space specifically. Okay, so let's get some training. So you have two kinds of gaps, desire gaps and consequence gaps. A desire gap, again, is who they want to be when they get it correct. Who they will be, I should say, when they get it correct. Right, so when we get it correct, what does that look like? And then we have the other side, which is consequence gaps. Consequence gaps is consequence gaps is, there's two levels to it, which is practical and emotional change. I'll get to that in a second. I got ahead of myself. But there's the consequence change, the consequence gap is who they don't want to be, like what they fear. I used to call this fear, but we'll call it consequence. It's easier to understand that way. What does it look like if you don't get this correct? Right? Like, what does this look like if you're not getting this right? Okay, so in desire gap, here's the scripting for that, and I'll give you scripting because it is important for gaps. It's when we get you to like those results where you have the body you want. You've lost the 25 pounds. You have that new sense of fulfillment and confidence. What does that change in your situation, just life-wise versus now? Like, what changes? That's the desire gap. And what we want to do for each of these gaps, consequence and desire, is we want to get two levels, the practical change and the emotional change. Okay, the first level is the practical change. The practical change is what changes in life. I would be able to do this. I'd be able to go here. I'd be able to eat like this. I'd be able to have this kind of relationship. I'd be able to have these kind of friends. I'd be able to have this kind of relationship with my family. Whatever it would be, however it pans out, that's what we do with the desire gap. Right? Practical change and then emotional change. What I would be able to have. That's practical change. And the emotional change would be how it would feel. Right? I would feel like this waking up. My mind would be like this. It's the emotional change. We need both of these. So when I ask this, what changes in your situation versus now? Oftentimes you'll get an answer that can sound emotional. Say, well, I would feel amazing. I'd feel like the happiest guy in the world. I would wake up every day with a sense of confidence. Let's say that's the answer you give. And then I'll double down and say, awesome. And how does that change things just day to day? Like, what do you do being that guy? I'd go play more tennis. I would go have more workouts with friends. I would enjoy, finally, if I did have a cheat day, it would mean a lot more to me, right? I'd be able to put on clothes that I want. There we go. That's the practical change. On the other side, we have the consequence gap. Again, same practical change and emotional change. Practical change would be, what does the negative side look like day to day? Let's say this continues, John, with you being 40 pounds overweight. And again, I say this with respect, but that's just the reality of where you're at. Let's say this continues where you don't love yourself, you aren't feeling confident in your body, and this continues or it gets worse. Like, what does that situation look like to you? All right. Again, we want the practical change and then the emotional change. Practical change would be, my health would get worse. I'd lose time with my kids because I wouldn't be able to engage with them and be as active with them. There we go. It's practical. And what would that feel like? Emotional change. It wouldn't feel great. I would feel like I was letting myself down, letting my family down. There's the feeling. Right? So with gap creating, we have desire gaps, we have consequence gaps. We need both of these things in order to trigger the full buying decision. And what I'll tell you is every offer, you may not always need both. That's the truth. Every offer, I don't think you always need like consequence gaps. As an example, in B2B, I do talk consequence, but I don't do it as strongly as I do in B2C because the buying decisions are less emotional. They're just purely backed by logic. right? And there's some emotion, always some, but not it's not very emotionally driven, so I'm less likely to go into consequence. But it's important that you understand this, and I want to summarize. These 3 triggers are going to print you cash. Problem, urgency, gap. These 3 triggers. PUG, remember this formula, PUG, P-U-G, problems, urgency, gap. If you can find a problem that the company can solve, if you can tap into urgency, which is why I do this now versus doing it later, and you can create a gap, which is who they're going to be, right? Who they're going to be versus who they are now, and you can have a dialogue and tangibly create that and paint that picture with a practical change and an emotional change, you're going to change your whole game in sales and make a whole bunch of money. That's the game. That's how we do it. This is how I train my people. This is why my people crush. We have the best sales reps in the market. The only thing like that stops our people is just themselves. That's it. The skill set's there. The training is there. The mindset's there, and our people crush. We've got our people making tens of thousands of dollars, right? Our protocols coach, Charlie, is just hitting a 20K month right now, right? And it's middle of March. He's just under pacing for that. Like we push very, very hard, and we have the best training in the game. That's the truth. And I stand on that, and I mark that strongly with my heart. And I believe that, and I stand by that. Okay, there's 2 things you can do going forward if you want to learn more from me and just get free stuff. Join our newsletter. I have a bunch of free resources there that'll help you out. Really, really solid stuff that is not what I share on YouTube, and stuff that's beyond even what people have in their paid programs. And then if you'd like to come train with me and have a conversation with me, we don't have a sales call. You don't book directly on a sales call. You book a strategy call with one of my top sales reps, and he's just going to ask you some questions, see where you're at, see if it's a good fit, and then if it is a good fit and you want to move forward, he'll invite you to book a sales call with someone on my team. That's how we do it, and it's down below. It's called a strategy call. So there's those 2 links. You can click them there below the video. Otherwise, take care. It's time to make a bunch of money. Keep crushing it. Keep building the life that you know you truly deserve and that you want. I'm excited for you. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Goodbye.